go in and double check. Just look at your grades or go in and try to take it again. If you took the wrong quiz, it'll let you take the right one. If you took the wrong one and it wouldn't let you take the right one yesterday, try it again, because I think we've got the other one banished now. So it's gone. Won't affect your grade. And I would like you to go in and try that today. And then, would you like to make your announcement, Russ?
Last week, Jill, the speaker, talked a lot about social media marketing. Just wanted to let you know that a new class that Snow College teaches called Social Media Marketing. She said half of her sales is derived from social media marketing, and the other half, Alan and I talked, is probably derived from natural search engine results via Google. So it's a great class that we teach for building your presence, your community online via Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter and Instagram and Google+, and building a website and doing viral videos. And so it's a great class. There's only 24 seats. Registration begins about a week and a half. But once that class is filled, we also have an online section of that class. So I would strongly encourage you consider that class, Social Media Marketing, BT 1300. The second class up there, BMGT 1010, Introduction to Business, a project class. We divide up into teams, marketing, management, finance, and then we do a project in there. So a couple of related classes as you consider enrollment in the next, when that begins November 7th. Thank you, Alan.
Those would be great classes in any field, whether you're a business major or not. Both of these would be excellent courses. So it is my pleasure to introduce today's guest presenter. We'll have the privilege today of hearing from J.D. Fox. He is a native of Washington State. He moved to Utah to attend Snow College, and while he was a student here, he developed a love for what is now an absolute passion and a career for him. He's never had a job he didn't like. For the past 14 years, he has worked for Mid-Utah Radio, which owns several radio stations, and he developed the J.D. Fox Morning Show from the ground up, as well as several programming for a couple of other stations that they have. He is now the owner of JDF Productions, specializing in voiceover production, live sound, and motivational speaking. He is also a two-time cancer survivor. He married a local gal here in Sanpete County, Emilee Blackham, and together they have miracle twins that will be 1 year old in November. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to J.D. Fox.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I'm excited to have the opportunity to be here and speak with you today. And thank you for that introduction. I have loved Snow College. I'm a proud Snow College alum. And I'd love to get here on campus and help out any way that I can and be a part of what happens here. So I was excited to have the opportunity to come and speak here today. So thank you for giving me that opportunity. I have started JDF Productions. It's a business that started kind of small and has grown from there. One thing that I'm proud about is that it completely 100% supports itself. I did not have to go into debt one bit in order to start my business. And as it continues to grow, it supports its own growth. And I'm one of those that I admire people who jump into business, and sometimes that requires a whole lot of debt in order to do that, but it freaks me out to do that. So I started it as a side business is how it began, and let it grow from there. And it's kind of got three parts. Like you mentioned, I work on the radio station, and I continue to do that and absolutely love it. The J.D. Fox Morning Show, it's on Eagle 94.5 FM. We started that just over 10 years ago and began it from the ground up. It's a very eclectic radio station if you've tuned in, and that's the way we decided that listeners are with music. It's very eclectic, the things that they like to listen to. And we developed the entire show. I had the opportunity to sit down and talk with people and figure out what they like and what they don't like and completely create a radio station from the bottom up at a very young age, which was pretty awesome. I started to work at the radio station while I was a student here at Snow College. Why? Well, they had a job opening, and I went and applied. I needed a part-time job. They looked at me and thought, well, at least we'll have him around for a couple of years while he's at Snow until we figure out what we really want to do. And they hired me part-time. Turned out that I ended up with a career, and hopefully they ended up with an employee that they valued. And I became a full-time employee not long after that, and found out that I love working in radio. I love my voice. And that sounds extremely vain to say, but if someone who was a guitar player were to say, I love my guitar, would you think that was vain? Absolutely not. It's their instrument, and they have a passion for it. I love my voice, and I love to be able to use it in any way that I can. So my business, JDF Productions, has got 3 different areas that it basically deals with. One is live sound, and I get the opportunity to set up speakers, whether it's for a tailgate party, whether it's for a live band, for house parties, you name it, just about anything, we'll set up speakers and do it. And I've been involved and helped out with numerous large and small events where we use live sound. And I've got a mantra that I use quite often throughout my life, but I use it especially when I'm setting up sound systems. There's actually 2 that I use. 1, prior planning prevents present problems. The 5 Ps, something that was introduced to me when I was in high school by a science teacher. Why? Because I had assignments that would come in late. And he would look at me, because I would have an excuse, of course, of why I didn't have it done, and he'd say, prior planning prevents present problems. I'm sorry that you did not plan in advance enough to get that done. Not my problem. In fact, I heard it so often, he stopped saying it. He would just hold up his hand. Show me the 5 fingers. That's all it took. Prior planning prevents present problems. How do I use that with live sound? Well, I found out that a lot of people think that they know what they need with live sound, and so they tell me what they need. And if I show up with just what they've told me that they think they need, they end up asking for something else, and I don't have it there. So I have to plan in advance of things that they might possibly need that they don't know that they even need. So when they ask, oh, by the way, I need to plug in this, I need to add this, I need to do this, I say, no problem, because I've planned in advance to be able to do that. That same mantra can apply to anything that you do in business or in any relationship that you have. It's a wonderful thing to remember. Prior planning prevents present problems. The other thing in the audio world that we use is a phrase, and of course it's quoted in different ways, but it's basically crap in, crap out. No matter how good of a sound system that you have, if junk's going in at the front end, you're going to have junk that comes out on the back end. You have to have quality. If you're a public speaker or you've got a business model or whatever it is, it has to be quality, no matter the process that it goes through, to have quality come out on the other end. If you're a singer and you sound terrible, there is no sound system that will fix that. Seems really simple, doesn't it? Now imagine, though, if you take someone who is a phenomenal singer and connect them with a sound system that is 100% awesome, and you get a rockin' concert. You can also attend a concert and have a phenomenal performer and not so great of a sound system and still walk away and go, wow, that was awesome. If you've got quality at the beginning, you end up with quality at the end. And that's something to keep in mind. The stuff in the middle, we then try to improve all the way along. And that's kind of how I try to run my business. We start with quality, we end with quality, and the parts in the middle we try to fine tune and get them better as money and resources allow us to be able to do that. Other part of what I do with my business is voiceovers. How many people here, by a raise of hand, have heard a voice today that was done on a computer, on a video, anywhere? Heard of any type of recorded voice today? Anybody? That includes radio, TV, your cell phone, any video you watched online. Just about everywhere you turn, there is some sort of recorded voice, and somebody has to record that voice. The voiceover industry is large and extremely viable. I have a lot of people that will ask me, well, can you actually make a career out of that? Yeah, and it's at varying levels depending on how ambitious you are and how good you are at your craft of being a voiceover artist. You may have some big names like Brian Lee, who does movie trailers and other things. This year he should be bringing in close to $2 million doing voiceover work alone. I've got a friend named Scotty Gorman who just landed a large account with AutoNation and landed it just a couple months ago. Before the year ends, he will be able to buy his house free and clear. Pretty big account that he picked up just from using his voice. So I get lots of opportunities to be able to use my voice. Obviously, I do that with the radio station, but I get the opportunity to do voice auditions. In the last 10 years in the audiovisual world, we have seen huge advances in equipment that we have that have made things extremely easy to be able to do from literally about anywhere. You could do voiceover work from a hotel room if you wanted, because the equipment that is available is so much more small in size, and it's less expensive than it had been. Voiceover work in decades past had to be done at a professional recording studio with a huge budget, and you had to schedule that time in order to come in and do it. If you didn't live in a large metro area, voiceover acting was something you could not do. That makes it extremely easy to happen now. And I have all that equipment with a home studio that I have to be able to do that. It's a lot of fun. Some of the projects that I've been involved with, I was contacted by a company in Sweden. Because of the internet, it makes it really easy to be able to do stuff literally anywhere in the world. They're developing a tourism app. They have people there in their country that are traveling here to the US, don't speak English very well. They need to be able to communicate or learn phrases to be able to ask simple questions like, can I get a taxi? How much is a hotel room? Where's a good place to eat? They contacted me and hired me to read the English portions that will go in their app to be able to allow people to travel here to the US. How neat is that? That I get to be involved with something like that. Some auditions just this week that I was involved with, the San Francisco Giants. I sent in an audition for an event that they've got at their ballpark for the community, and hopefully I'll end up getting hired to be involved with that. TV stations in Serbia had a thing that they were doing and needed some voiceover work. I sent in an audition for that. It's literally stuff all over the world that I get to be involved with, and I can do it right from my house doing voiceover work. And it is in everywhere. It's everywhere. Movies, video games. It's a huge market. And I guarantee that everybody in here at some time or another hears a recorded voice. If you have a cell phone, you hear one on a very regular basis. Just checking your voicemail, you'll hear an automated voice that will come on. Somebody recorded that. Somebody was paid to do that. And it's a fun business. The other thing that I like to do is motivational speaking. And it's something that I'm very passionate about. When I was a student here at Snow College, I went in and talked to a counselor and said I want to be a motivational speaker. That's what I want to major in. That's what I want my career to be. Well, that counselor looked at me and said, well, you can't major in that. End of discussion. You can't major in that. That was it. That was the counseling I got on that. Told me you have to be somebody in order to be a motivational speaker. The President of the United States, well, I wasn't going to do that. You have to have a near-death experience, invent something, climb Mount Everest backwards. I mean, something crazy that no one else has done. And then they'll let you be a motivational speaker. That's how you do it. I thought, bummer. I thought I had life figured out. That's what I was going to do with my life. I had to head somewhere else. As I got older, I started to realize the missed opportunity that counselor had to give me some great advice on what I could do in order to become a motivational speaker. Told me I had to be somebody. Well, I'll tell you what, I am somebody. And so are you. And don't ever let anybody tell you that you're not, and that you can't accomplish the things that you want to accomplish. It might take work, it might be hard, but you can do it. I became a motivational speaker. A little bit of a roundabout way on how I ended up getting it. While I was finishing up as a student here at Snow College and working at the radio station, we were just getting ready to launch the Eagle. So I had finished school and was starting that full-time job of starting a radio station from the ground up. A lot of work and a lot of research going into it. We were down at a convention in Las Vegas, and I had a rather uncomfortable feeling of pain down low in my abdomen. Kind of brushed it off. Woke up with that pain when I was back here in Ephraim not long after that, and I found a lump and found out that I had cancer as we went in and got it checked out. Because of a class that I had here, a health class, I was advised to be doing self-checks on a regular basis, and so I knew it had been found early, and we were able to take care of it. I was diagnosed with testicular cancer at that time and had to go in for an immediate surgery in order to pull it out. Kind of changes your life extremely quick. I was on top of the world, starting this great career as a radio DJ, and I was told I was diagnosed with cancer. And really had to think a lot about life. And I found out that it's an awkward thing to talk about not only cancer, but testicular cancer. Two things would happen when I would bring it up or someone would find out. The word cancer, that kind of freaks people out a lot of times, and they get a little bit quiet. Now, the word testicular, that's just kind of an ugly word to begin with. I mean, no one's ever written poems about testicular by any means. Shakespeare never did, at least, that I know of. So that made it even, and imagine, being on dates. Oh, you had cancer? What type? Testicular. Where does the conversation go after that? It makes it a little bit difficult. And, it changed my life a lot. Phrases like, I'm freezing my ball off, just didn't sound the same. It was just awkward all the way around. As I was in the hospital room, I had a lot of visitors that came and would come in. And it was like they were coming to a funeral. They would walk in quiet and solemn and whisper, "How are you doing? You feeling okay?" And I thought, I have got cancer, and I'm trying to recover from surgery. You guys are supposed to be here to cheer me up. Why is everyone being so down in the dumps? And as it turned out, I had to be the one that was cracking the jokes and had to try and lighten the mood just a little bit to make them feel better about me having cancer. Seems a little messed up, doesn't it? And I found that having a positive attitude makes an extreme difference. Well, that counselor that told me that I needed to be somebody or have a near-death experience, guess what? I had cancer. So now I've had my near-death experience. So stick it, counselor that told me that I wasn't going to be a motivational speaker. I got the opportunity, and I'm glad that I did. It's fun to get out and to visit with people and talk. And I had to do regular checks and got the opportunity to talk to people about my experience of having cancer. And wouldn't you know it, I fall in love and get married, and not long after we get married, I start having those same feelings that I had 10 years prior when I was first diagnosed with cancer. And I thought, no, this can't be happening again. They told me that the chances of it happening in that same location a second time were possible, but it never happened. In fact, the doctors said, we don't know of anybody that has happened to them. So I thought, that's nothing. We'll go and get it checked out. The radiologist who was reading the scans came in to talk with me personally. Now, if you've spent any time in a hospital getting an x-ray or anything else, the radiologist does not come talk to you, ever. He sits in a little dark room, reads the scans and x-rays, writes up his report, and sends it to the doctor. He doesn't interact with patients, ever. He came out to talk to me. Why? Well, he'd been looking at my insides for the last 10 years. I've been going in for scans on a regular basis to make sure everything was cool. He knew me better on the inside than he did on the outside, literally. And he came in and talked to me, and he said, this looks like it's cancerous. You need to get it taken care of right away, which we did. Now, testicular cancer once, now happening a second time. And my wife and I didn't have any children. We quickly had to make some visits up to the hospitals up north to try to see what we could do. And by miracle, we were able to work things out. And I love modern medicine. And we were able to have twins that were born almost a year ago. On November 21st, they'll be 1 year old. And we were able to do that before they removed the second testicle. So I've got miracle twins, and we're excited about that. We're able to freeze other embryos, and I'll be able to have other children that are wholly and entirely mine. A miracle that would not be available to my parents' generation. They would have been out of luck. They'd have said, sorry, you can adopt, you can't have any kids ever. One of each. It's a boy and a girl. And we thought that was pretty cool that we were able to get them little blue-eyed babies, Jeffrey and Penny. And they're a lot of fun. I should have brought a picture. Man, I didn't plan ahead on that one. I apologize. They're the cutest little kids on the planet. And we're glad to have them here. And they are definitely miracle babies. They removed the second testicle. And the doctor told me, I can think about getting implants if I like. And at first I chuckled at that. I thought, why? And then I thought, well, everything manly, I could go with steel. And then I figured at the Utah winter that would be extremely cold. Thought against that. and life has gone on. What it does affect, for those of you who are curious, it doesn't allow me to produce testosterone. So lucky me, I get a shot every week. I got one this morning, in fact. And sometimes I think my wife enjoys it. A long 3-inch needle that she gets to jab into me once a week. Keeps me in line. And if I've been good, she does it well. And if I haven't, maybe a little sideways. No, she always does a really good job. Twice. And the doctor says that does not happen to anybody, ever. We've never seen it happen. They promised me I couldn't get testicular cancer a third time. Actually, I cracked that joke with the doctor, and he said, actually, we just had somebody in that did get it a third time. And you ruined my joke, thanks. And now I have a whole new thing to worry about. That's really great. I found out having a positive attitude can make all the difference, not only in my relationships with other people, but in business as well. And that's a lot of what I would like to talk about here today. There was a Gallup poll that was just recently done, June 2013, so you see this is just recent. 70% of those surveyed either hate their jobs or are completely disengaged. That's a high number, 70%. Now there's reports like this that come out every single year, and this one has been rising. They even looked at incentive programs that businesses may have implemented, like free meal, having a place that they can go and work out, or whatever kind of perks they can throw in. It made no difference. It made no difference adding those incentive plans. They were still dissatisfied, disengaged, hate their jobs. So it would stand to reason that only 30% of the 150,000 surveyed honestly enjoyed their jobs and their bosses. I have never had a job I didn't like. And I thought about that when I read this poll. I thought, well, what's wrong with me? Everybody else hates their jobs and their bosses. I'm in the minority. I have never had a job I did not like. And one of those was even picking up roadside litter for an entire summer. And no, it was not mandatory. I chose to have that job. Someone pointed that out, that people do that around here, but they usually have orange suits on when they're doing that. Only 30% honestly enjoyed their jobs and their bosses. Why? Well, looking at this, you might naturally think first and foremost, well, there's got to be something wrong with the job, or there must be something wrong with the bosses, right? Isn't that what that kind of looks like when you look at that? Well, the more I thought about it, I figured that can't be right. There can't be that many jobs that are wrong and that many bosses that are incompetent. Are there incompetent bosses? Without a doubt. Are there jobs that are no fun that you're not going to like? Sure. That many? Mm-mm. I didn't buy into that. So Dan Schwabel, Forbes magazine, he had an interview with Mark Murphy. He's an author. I was talking to him about a book on hiring, and he asked them, why do so many fail within the first 18 months of taking a job? He had done some research, this author, on new hires. In 18 months, they had lost jobs. With their research, this is what he said. When our research tracked 20,000 new hires, 46% of them, 46% failed within 18 months. Fired from their jobs, done. That is staggering. 46%? It gets more interesting. In fact, the numbers get a little bit crazier. 11% of the time, it was for lack of skill. It would seem to me that that would be the first and foremost reason. If someone's no good at a job, that's why you get rid of them, right? They don't have the skill. Only 11%? What's the other 89%? 89% of the time, it was for attitudinal deficiency, lack of coachability, low levels of emotional intelligence, motivation, and temperament. It was their attitude that made the difference on whether they kept their jobs or whether they lost them. So why is attitude so important? Well, Bob League, Rochester Business Journal, just, we're the 30th, 5 days ago, put this article out. I was glad to find this because it's worked in perfectly. He was sitting around with a bunch of CEOs from the Rochester area having a dinner together. And they've got a very viable business district and some really strong growing businesses there. The topic of hiring came up with these CEOs as he was sitting around talking with them. And the biggest problem that they were faced with was finding employees with a good attitude. The number one thing that they had a problem with was finding employees with a good attitude. Was this just for the Rochester area? No. Companies like Google, Apple, and Zappos are all reporting that their biggest hurdle is finding employees with a good attitude. So, as they talked, these CEOs, and Bob, this is what he wrote in his article. Employers believe they can train most people to have the right skills, but it's very difficult to change a person's attitude. It is easier to train them to do the job than it is to train them to have a good attitude. They would be willing to pass you up if you are better trained because you have a bad attitude. How would that make you feel? That the guy that got hired over you is not as competent in you in that skill, but has a better attitude. I think there must be something to that. They find that people with good attitudes learn faster, perform better, and work with others more productively. That seems to make sense. I would like to be around a person with a good attitude that works productively with me. That's the kind of environment I'd like to be in. So, how do we develop a good attitude? What do we do so that you can have a good attitude? First and foremost, you see what you seek. You see what you seek. What do I mean by that? Look for the positive and you will find the positive. If you're looking for negative, that's what you'll find. Negative. All of you know people like that. I know at least all of you probably have one person you can think of that will always find the negative in the situation. When you bring up a person, they will bring up the negative things they like about that person, or what they dislike about that person. Whatever it is, they always seem to point out the negative in people, in events, in processes, in whatever it is. They are always focused on what is negative. How do you feel when you're around those people? Usually starts to drag you down. Look for the positive and you'll find the positive. The next, be an emotional producer, not a consumer. What do I mean by that? Well, we all have to produce and consume emotionally. That's part of life and having interpersonal relationships. We consume and we produce. What would it be like if you went on a date with somebody and you had to carry the entire conversation? You asked all the questions, you told all the stories, and trying to get anything out of them was like pulling teeth. Do you think that person would get a second date? Probably not. It's laborious trying to have a conversation with somebody when you are having to produce everything and someone else is consuming everything. What about when you go with somebody and you're both producing and consuming great conversation together? It flows. Be an emotional producer, not a consumer. Don't be needy constantly. This will help you to be positive. And look for ways to help other people along the way. That makes sense? Okay. Second thing, be inspired. We are a nation that loves to be inspired. Think about the movies that are out, the biggest blockbusters that came out throughout the summer and are about to come out this fall. They all have themes in there that inspire us to overcome great odds, whatever it may be, whether it's a superhero or whether it's someone looking for love or whatever the drama case might be. We want to be inspired. We love sporting events where the underdog overcomes and wins. We love being inspired. So you need to learn how to be inspired. Allow yourself to be inspired by the little things around you. Well, the first step in that might be to look at the little things around you. Start paying attention to the things that are available to you right here on this campus. We have got a phenomenal music department on this campus that brings in world-renowned artists that you may never have a chance any other place to see. How many here have taken the opportunity to go and enjoy that? Yeah, a few. We have got a theater department that's one of the few that is accredited in the state of Utah. How many here have seen a play on campus? We've got a lot of things that can really inspire us right here. We bring in speakers with convocations and events like this where you can find yourself to be inspired. You may have heard the phrase, stop and smell the roses. Part of that is taking some time to be inspired by the little things, like a rose, like a sunset, like a snow up in the mountains. Be inspired by the things around you, and that'll help you to be a more positive person. And this one is a big one for me. I was up at Utah State attending a graduation there. And one of the speakers brought this point up, and it has stuck with me for years since. When you're there, be there. In fact, this has turned into a pet peeve for me. I hate it when I go to an event where I can be inspired, where something really awesome is going on, and you will see someone like this. Have you ever gone out to eat and you have seen two people at a dinner table not talking to each other because they're on their cell phones? Yeah. That kind of takes away from the whole idea of sitting down to have a meal, doesn't it? Go get fast food and eat it in separate places, and you can text each other. If you're there, be there. Be there completely. Be involved with what's going on and take it in. If you're part of a conversation, be there. If you're in a class, be engaged. If you're at the movies, don't be texting. Get into the movie, enjoy it. Don't be talking to the guy next to you, because that drives me nuts. And I will throw popcorn at you. I've done it before. When you're there, be there, and that will help you to be inspired by the things that are around you. Third point, just because you can't fly doesn't mean you have to crawl. A lot of times when we look at something that's in front of us and we think, I can never accomplish that, I can never be to that point, I can't fly, we give up completely. Why? Just because you can't fly doesn't mean you have to crawl. You can still walk, you can still run. Don't confine yourself to the absolute bottom because you can't reach the absolute top. You don't have to be the best, you just have to be the best you. And that's what you're striving for, to be the best you. Accept your capability, but develop your ability. Now this kind of gets confused a little bit. I'm going to explain a little bit more what I mean by this. Oftentimes, capability and ability are seen as synonyms. I don't think that they are. So let's look at this. Ability versus capability. Ability, possession of a skill to do something. Does it say that you're perfect at that skill? Does it say you're proficient? No. It says you're in possession of a skill to do something at some level. It may be the very lowest level, but you contain the ability to do that skill. Capability, the extent of someone's ability. How far that ability can go. You're only capable of doing certain things. There are singers, they are capable of a certain range of singing, how high and how low they can go. That's what they're capable of. Their current ability may be less than that. As they work on that, they can grow and reach their full capability. And then within that, you can perfect your ability endlessly. You're constantly trying to improve that ability that you have. Extent, by the way, the Latin, it comes from a Latin word that means to stretch out. So the stretching of someone's ability is when we're reaching that capability. Don't compare your abilities with other people's capabilities. This is a problem that we run into often. We look at somebody and we see what they are capable of, and we say, my current ability is not up to that capability. Well, just because they're more capable of something than you are, doesn't mean that their ability is greater than your ability. So don't compare those two things. Remember, capabilities, you're only capable of so much, but your ability you can develop endlessly within that capability. You can always refine it and get better. Take control of your ability. I looked at that because when you look at capability, the prefix of cap, C-A-P, means to take control of. So capability literally means to take control of your ability, to seize it, and to make it the best it can possibly be. That will help you to have a positive attitude as well. Now this I ran across while I was reading in the Bible, and I thought it was kind of interesting. I had to ponder on this one a long time and revisit it more than once to wrap my head around it. In there it said that to be full and to be hungry, and I thought, what? How can you be full and hungry at the same time? That seemed like it was not going to make sense at all. Well, this is what I came up with. Be content with who you are and what you have, but always strive to improve. Those who have got bad attitude in the workplace, they are not content with who they are and what they have. And because of that, they stop improving. It's no wonder that they hate their jobs and they hate their bosses. They're not content and they're not improving. That sounds boring. It is. Learn to be content. Sheryl Crow put it a great way. She says, it's not getting what you want, it's wanting what you've got. All of you have got skills and assets already. Learn to want those, what you already have, and develop the skills and attributes that you already possess. So, as just a review on this, to have a great attitude, you need to see what you seek. You see what you seek. Be inspired. Take that time to be inspired. Just because you can't fly doesn't mean you have to crawl. And finally, be full and be hungry. I promise you, as you start to implement these things in your life, and this is something that you don't just implement at work, at school, this is being positive has to be a life change. It has to be a part of you. When people describe you, they need to describe you as a positive person. Follow these steps, and I promise you it'll help you to become more positive, and that in turn will make you more desirable to be hired. Couple with that the skills that it takes to succeed in the field that you choose to pursue, and you have got a force to be reckoned with. Someone who is positive and someone who has the skills that it takes to succeed. And that is my message that I have for you today. Go out and be positive. Now I'll open it up to you guys. If you have any questions you'd like to ask about what I do or who I am, feel free to ask.
I have a question. You said that you started JDF Productions or your radio station without any debt.
Okay, yes, I started JDF Productions without any debt. How did I do that? The key for me was to start small. I took what I had, and when I would get hired, because it was a side job, I would use that money to turn around and then buy more equipment. When I found out that a particular job needed something that I didn't have, I would take the money that I would make from that. Oftentimes you can find when you purchase things that you need, you can get, well, I guess it is kind of financing, so I guess it is kind of a debt, but they'll do a no interest for X amount of time. I'd buy the equipment that I would need, send them the bill, get the money, and it would just turn right around. So slowly I would be able to build up that equipment as I went along. And that's how I did it without debt. It was a slow process. And I was able to do that mostly because I have a full-time job. This is a side job. It started as a side job. I hope it to grow it so it becomes the only job that I do, would be the hope. But I love being in radio, so I don't know why I would quit. I'm doing what I love. But that's how I did it. It was slow growing, and I just let it build itself, so it supports itself. When I make more, it buys more. And then I'm able to do bigger jobs and make more money. So that it snowballs. That answer your question? Okay. Any others? Here, and then we'll go back there. How do I think the Seahawks are going to do? They've got a phenomenal team, and their defense looks solid. So I'm hoping that they're going to go all the way. That's what I'm predicting. And I am a Seahawks fan. Thanks for asking. How did I get myself into the voiceover market? Well, it was kind of a natural progression for me. I was in radio, and radio is voiceover work. And it was actually a phone call that I got from a guy that's now become a friend. He lives in South Carolina. He used to work for a radio station. He's a DJ, and he calls radio stations and tries to encourage them to play songs for artists that they've been hired to try and get their songs out. So we've developed a relationship in talking, and he introduced me to the world of voiceover work, and it kind of opened the door for me and gives me tips and tricks and ideas to try to get better. And so it started from there. There's a lot of online services that make it possible for you to do auditions. Things like voice123.com is a great place to check out if you're interested. And anybody can get on there and can look at auditions that you can be a part of. To get their full services, you pay for a yearly subscription. They send auditions your direction. Those auditions can range anywhere from $50, for reading 3 sentences to $1,000 for reading the same thing. Just depends on the budget and how big of a project that it is. It's pretty amazing how much money you can get in if they like your voice can turn into a big project. That's how I got into it, was just finding out about it from somebody else and thought, hey, I like my voice. I do this for a living. Why am I not doing more of it? Any other questions? Say that again. What have I enjoyed most about the radio? Wow. One of the things that I really love about radio is that I get the opportunity to wear a lot of different hats. And that's also part of being in a small company as well. Because we're small, there's a lot of different jobs that we have to do. So yesterday I was helping out hanging an antenna for a new radio station that we've got. It was a backup repeater site that we were working on. So after I got off the air, I was outside working on setting up an antenna, which was pretty cool. And I don't get to do that super often, but I get to get out and help with that. I get to do voiceover work, and I get to do events. I love getting out and meeting with people and doing live broadcasts from businesses or coming to sporting events and being involved with that. So interacting with people. And I love music. So it gave me an opportunity to learn about artists and to be a part of watching new artists rise up and get that on the air. It's a lot of fun for me. So it's wearing the different hats. That's my favorite part. And probably the number one thing that I love is actually using my voice. Because like I said, I love using my voice. And it gives me an opportunity to do that every single day. Any other questions? I will. This is my wife, Emilee, here. Emilee was a student here at Snow College. She was an ambassador, graduated from here, and was in the University of Southern Nevada, which is now Roseman University, and is a doctor of pharmacy, and works at Skyline Pharmacy. Her family owns that business in Mount Pleasant, and she's very accomplished in her own right. Started off as a music major, actually, here, and then switched to pharmacy. So an accomplished piano player, and I'm happy to have her. Also here, we've got Aunt Nanu, who's a great friend of the family, and an educator as well. Taught kindergarten for years and now retired and is living the life. And my father, Joe Kuchenmeister, is here. So I'm glad that they came up, and my parents actually do live here in town, retired here to this location. I was the only really settled kid at the time, so I got to have them close by, which I think is great, so I'm glad that they're here. Thank you for that. Any other questions? There and then Alan. Yeah. Is there anything I do to try to protect my voice or to take care of it? A lot of the same tips that you'll find if you were to do a Google search for a singer taking care of their voice or voice warm-up or any of those sorts of things apply to the speaking voice as well. One of the very first things that I caught on to really quickly, I loved going to sporting events and yelling a lot. Loved it. I berated more than one ref in my day. I found out very quickly I couldn't do that anymore because it took such a toll on my vocal cords that the next morning when I went to work, I was hating myself. So I had to learn to tone it down on some of those things. That was first and foremost. I just watched how and when I used my voice. I found that overusing my voice causes problems as well. When I get a day that I'm on the air all morning and then I do a live broadcast for 3 hours and then I've got an event that night or a public speaking event like this, my throat's pretty sore by the end of it. They've got a great throat spray that's called the Performer's Secret. It's got aloe and a bunch of other stuff, and it's like lotion for the vocal cords. Great product that you can Google. They only sell it online, unfortunately. I like warm drinks. I'm a hot chocolate fan. A lot of people don't like that because it gets phlegmy, but I'm kind of addicted.
So similar question in your business, your asset ways, also your mindset. So you got to be really upbeat on the air or an event. But if you have to wake up kind of down,
You fake it. What he asked was, I've got two assets, my voice and then a positive attitude. And so if I wake up in the morning and I've got to be on the air and I'm supposed to be positive and upbeat and I just feel ugh when I wake up in the morning, how do I do it? And the truth is you fake it. You act like you are happy. Now I know you might think, man, that sounds hypocritical or superficial. Well, there's a little secret that I'd like you to know about. And there's an American psychologist, and boy, this is off the cuff, so I don't have his name, that basically said that oftentimes our emotions follow our actions, not the other way around. We oftentimes think that because we feel down in the dumps that day or kind of blah, that our actions follow that. It's the other way around. Unless something major happened, like somebody died, then no amount of consoling is really going to change that. You're going to be sad. If you wake up and you're feeling gloomy, but your body actions, you act like you are happy and upbeat, guess what happens to your emotions? They follow what your body's doing, and you will start to be upbeat and happy. So I act like I am upbeat, and guess what? Pretty soon I am. That's really the way that it works for general emotions. If it's at a greater extremes, obviously there's other things that are involved there, but that's the tip and trick there. Any other questions? Yes, I did. He asked if I actively controlled my growth to not go into debt. My coworkers like to tease me, and my wife would jump right on this bandwagon as well, that I have a problem. And my major problem is that I really like speakers and microphones. And at any chance that I get, I'm either looking at them online, in catalogs, and or buying them. So every time a package shows up at work, I get teased because they say, you bought something else again, didn't you? And because I have a problem there. So yes, I have to be careful, because if I'm not, I'll blow it all away. I do some sound consulting as well, so I'll get hired to maybe install a sound system, or they'll call me and say, we've got this old sound system, we want to buy all brand new, and I can come in and I can say, you know what, 90% of your equipment here is great. Why are we replacing all this? This needs to be replaced. Did you know here on campus there's actually a record player that's still connected to one of the sound systems? You probably didn't even know it. A record player that's in the wall that actually tilts down out. It's an old sound system. I'm willing to bet that sound system still functions great, but because it's connected to a record player that's like not working, nobody uses it or even knows. But because of that, people will call up and say, I want to do this and buy this or purchase this. I have to have the money available to be able to purchase those things to then turn around and sell it to them. Otherwise, I am going into debt. So I have to be careful to not spend it all and keep some reserve there. Things also break as well, and I found that out, that things break, or someone needs a special need of something that I need to get in, or rent something that I don't really want to own. I've got to have some reserve money. So I do have to be careful to not overgrow what I have. Space is also an issue. I have to then haul it. The more stuff I have, the bigger trailer I have to have. The bigger trailer you have to have, the bigger vehicle you have to have. The bigger vehicle, the more expense. So you have to be very careful on how it grows. And I'm conscious of that to try and keep me where I'm comfortable. Good question. Thank you. Anybody else? Maybe one more? He's asking with these live events if I was doing really good on it, maybe doing 1 or 2 of those events a day. That would be like a dream, awesome, come true if I was doing that many of them a day. Some days are that way. And you think of live events, how often is there a live rock band concert happening? You know, they're not every night of the week. Well, they probably are in some places, but at one particular venue where I would be hired, yes, the money can be very good. Oftentimes what I try to come out on is making $50 an hour. Is what I try to come out as. Sometimes I make a little less, sometimes I make a little more. It depends on what it is. Why did I pick that particular number? Well, that's what a pharmacist makes oftentimes, and I got to keep up with my wife. So, but yes, it can be extremely lucrative. Because this is a smaller area geographically, there's just not quite as much. So I either travel more to make up for it, or I just have some lean months. Hence I can do things like voiceover work and doing the motivational speaking to supplement and fill in when there's lean months of live sound. Great. Thank you very much. I appreciate letting me come.
Thank you very much for being here. That was an excellent presentation. I hope he has inspired all of you to think about what kind of assets you have and what kind of passion you have that you can tap into, as he has done successfully. Thank you again, J.D. Fox.